Hi, I'm Mike Thompson, and this video is Mike's Design Principles. These are the 5 rules that I use consistently to design awesome things and win trophies. When you apply these 5 rules consistently, you will notice some awesome results. So here we go with Mike's Design Principles. 1. Make every part serve 2 functions. When a part serves 2 functions, the overall design is cheaper, lighter, and simpler. You can use a simple bolt maybe to secure things on the front and the back of something. Can you use the same bolt to also allow for some rotation? What about using a waterproofing paint so that you eliminate a waterproofing step? Can that LED indicate something, or do you need multiple LEDs? One LED, can it be multicolored, or maybe it can flash a pattern rather than using multiples? Another aspect of this rule is that you should eliminate parts. That's kind of the core of this rule, actually. But you should always think about eliminating parts. I'm not talking about nuts and bolts. I'm talking about things that would fundamentally alter the design or function of the device. Do you really need those legs, or can this thing be supported some other way? Once you've run through this exercise a few times, run through it again and again. Rinse, repeat. Make something that is simple as it can be. Number 2, come up with at least 3 alternatives to get the job done. Don't get tunnel vision. Your first idea is probably not the best. Think about all the ways that something could be accomplished. Even outlandish ideas have merit at this point. Can you jump, climb, or fly up the pole? Think about how might I. Does your boat really have to go out and turn around? What do the rules not prohibit? What else could you do? Challenge your assumptions. Are they valid? Probably not. Way back on my first cardboard boat race, the rule said that you had to paddle out to a buoy, turn around, and come back. Well, now the fastest boats are long and skinny, but they don't corner worth a damn. Of course, the assumption that everyone else made was that you paddle out to the buoy, you turn the boat around, and you paddle back. Well, but that's not what I did. I made a boat that was pointy on both ends, so that all I had to do was paddle out, turn around, and paddle back. I actually fell out halfway to the buoy on the first race, climbed back in, and turned around for a first place victory. Always question your assumptions when you're coming up with these outlandish alternative designs. Coming up with alternatives is actually really fun, and I've found many times that this stage of the problem is where I end up winning ultimately. This principle is also about branching out and coming up with various methods for each design. Designs within designs. It's also likely that someone else has a thought that can make your design better. Don't fall in love with the design just because it's your idea. Ideas aren't unique. You want to get behind the idea that's the best. You do want to win, right? Number 3, test only the critical elements. Don't waste money making the entire part when you only need to see if your clearance on a pin is correct. You have something on a hinge that needs to clear something else over here. Well, then only make this little part over here to check your clearance. Does the thing need to fit inside this other thing and then rotate? Well, only if you're 3D printing it, only make it tall enough to check the fit. This principle saves a lot of money. You don't want to end up 3D printing or milling a whole bunch of coasters when all you want to check is a bolt pattern. For example, when I created the rapid roller, I didn't print the entire assembly because this thing takes a really long time to print. I've got a bearing clearance and screw clearances to worry about, and so I only printed this little tiny thing here to make sure that the fits were right. This allowed me to test each of the critical elements in much less time than it would otherwise. I was able to test all the critical fits by only printing this tiny little piece. So this is what I mean when I'm talking about only printing the critical elements. Notice that this piece here has a V5 on it. It would have been an awful shame to print this entire thing 4 previous times only to find out that the fit wasn't quite right. When I created this little handle for this saw, I didn't print the entire handle. I cut my model up so that I only printed the slot and the set screw hole. Turns out this little handle here at the test actually makes a good little handle on its own. But it saved me a ton of time by printing out this. Had I printed this thing, it could have been wrong. So only test your critical elements. And of course, this rule applies to all manufacturing processes, not just 3D printing. Number 4, make the minimum viable product. Did the customer tell you that they needed the size to be adjustable? Does this jig need that pin in the slot? Maybe not. Don't waste time adding features that aren't required. by the customer. No one is hiring over engineers, so don't bother applying. Make the minimum viable product. Remember that the original iPhone, it didn't do nearly as many things as the iPhones now do, but did it sell well? You bet it did. So only make the changes when the cost of doing so is justified by additional profits. Now, we engineers are often guilty of over-designing something. Sometimes it's just fun. However, that fun comes at a cost many times. Engineers are supposed to design things as efficiently as possible with the least amount of material and money, right? That's the whole essence of engineering. Anyone can design something with way more material and way more features than it needs. So don't do that. While it might be nice to design this thing so that people of different heights might be able to use it, is it really necessary? So maybe not. So just design a size that most people can use and then see what the customers have to say about it before you bother investing resources designing features that aren't really required. Also, don't bother designing something if it's available on a shelf somewhere. Not only are you trying to make the minimum viable product, you're also trying to invest the minimum viable effort, aren't you? Be lazy. And number 5, think way ahead. This is where you visualize how it's going to be assembled. I can't tell you how many times that I've caught myself in this stage because I didn't allow clearance for a screwdriver or a bolt to get in the right hole. Actually use the tools in your mind. If you don't know which end of the screwdriver to hold, well then get somebody else to help you with this step. But visualize yourself actually grabbing the screw or bolt, putting it in the hole, and then twisting it into place until it's tight. Can you actually get your socket wrench or your screwdriver in there? I've designed a couple of things in the past that I didn't allow enough clearance, but luckily I caught it at this stage. Then, once you've done that, visualize yourself actually using it. Use it inside your mind. Twist it, pull it, bop it. Do the parts move and behave as you expect that they do? For instance, is there enough clearance in these parts? Visualize it in different environments too. Hot and cold, wet and dry, in a vacuum, under pressure. But now that you've virtually assembled it, how's it going to be used? Is it user-friendly? Visualize yourself and others using it and misusing it. You got to go through every aspect of this. Are the parts likely to break during use? Yes, they are. So go redesign it now. Is it fail-safe or fail-deadly? Once it does break, how's it going to be fixed? Can you actually access the area that you need to get up in there to do it? What's it going to be fixed with? Is the part available on the shelf somewhere? Is it interchangeable? Think a few more steps ahead and consider all the operational conditions. Question your assumptions once again and redesign it now to make it as good enough as it needs to be. Now that you've done and completely thought that through, get out there and win yourself some trophies. I'm Mike Thompson, and these are my 5 design principles that I use anytime I come up with something new. If you apply these principles religiously, you'll make some awesome stuff every single time and win trophies. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm Mike Thompson, and thanks for watching. I really appreciate it.